What's going on out there, everybody? This is your boy, comedian Marlon Ballard with the Love to Laugh podcast. I am joined by a legend, an Atlanta legend in the game, two-time Grammy-winning artist from the superstar group Arrested Development. I want y'all to start clapping, start clapping, start clapping. Give it up for my man Speech from Arrested Development. Yeah. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, bro. I'm real good. Doing real good.
That's good, man. That's good, man. I'm glad to have you on my show, man. You are a legend in the game, a trendsetter, one of the actually first artists to come out of the Atlanta area. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, and hip hop, like on a nationwide, like major level, yeah, definitely.
Definitely, man. So you definitely deserve your flowers while you're here, man. You're a legend. The group is legendary, man. Y'all have done so much. You paved a lot of ways for people, to come out later on and come out
Thank
with
you.
their own styles and everything. So I appreciate everything that you contributed to the game, man.
Thank you. That means a lot, man. It really does. Thank you.
Man, so what have you been up to during this whole pandemic, brother?
So much. I mean, first of all, because of the quarantining, my creativity has been off the charts. Like a lot of projects I've been working on with people across the world, really across, in the UK and people from Africa, um, doing music with them, but mainly over like sending internet files back and forth and sending music back and forth, ideas. It's been great. So like Arrested Development released a brand new album called Don't Fight Your Demons
Yes.
on the September 25th in last year. And it's gotten so much rave reviews. So many people have said it's the best album of 2020. It might be up for a Grammy in 2021. We'll see.
Uh-oh, Grammy number 3.
You know what I mean? So it's exciting. And then I got a solo project coming out actually any moment now, that I did primarily live with a lot of musicians in town, but some musicians in Africa and UK. And so it's been an amazing time, so that's on the creative tip. Obviously with COVID, there's been a lot of people that's passed away, because of this disease and or virus, and that part's been hard.
Yeah, so I hope you're in the house staying safe, keeping your distance from, everybody because we can't have no more losses, brother. We losing way too many people, like you said.
I have been, thank you for saying that, because so many people that I know aren't sure about what they want to do in this time period. And none of us like being quarantined, but I personally believe that it is ultra important to stay in our game because this is a temporary virus, I hope.
I hope.
And I would hate for people to pass away unnecessarily from this temporary situation when they're supposed to have a full life. And I've seen too many pass from that. So I don't want to be one of them. I pray that I won't be.
As I do too, brother. We need you here, man. We
Yeah.
need that love and positivity that you've been putting into our airways for years, bro. You when you came out, you had
Thank
a
you.
far different style from what we were used to.
Yeah.
See, I was born in 91. I'm a youngster, so I may not know what I'm talking about at times, but I went back and did my research, and y'all had a completely different style, like because when y'all came out, gangster rap was pretty much running, the entire industry, and y'all came out with the peace, love, positivity. Like you were different. So tell us what it was like, around, when you first, broke into the scene.
Well, when we first broke into the scene, number one, some really important things were happening in hip hop. Number one, the there was a huge importance to being different and being unique, having authenticity, not trying to be like everybody else. In fact, back then, if you sounded like somebody else, it was called biting and it was
Yes.
bad. It was frowned upon. So the originality game was really high. Everybody was wanting to be different. And number two, um, there was a cultural renaissance where Black people were once again understanding who we are as a people, the power that we possess as a people, and we wanted to change narratives that have been told about us negatively for decades. We wanted to change those narratives. So TV shows like The Cosby's and A Different World and Living Single and you know Living Color, so many television shows were focused on Black empowerment, and movies like Do the Right Thing by Spike Lee, or School Days by Spike Lee, or um, Boys in the Hood, so many different films were also focused on Black empowerment. And then you have Black music, from hip hop to R&B to everything, rock even, that was Black artists talking about Black empowerment. Even folk music from Black artists was talking about Black empowerment. So there was a very strong statement coming from all levels of Black culture to be our ancestors' dream come true. And it was powerful. And I'm very grateful that Arrested Development had a part in helping to push that revolution forward. And I hope that we can continue to do that 30 years later.
Absolutely. So since you pretty much like kept the positive road, that that people look at you like, oh, why you not making this? Why you not, why you not talking about guns or sex or violence? Like what kept you in your own lane from doing that? You just wanted to be different, or you just did not want to put a negative image out there?
That's a great question. I mean, when I was younger, I did try that. Like, me and my crew, I had a crew called Secret Society, and we were trying to be harder. We were wanting to imitate Chuck D, or maybe KRS-One with his first album, Criminal Minded, with Boogie Down Productions. And we wanted to imitate what we liked. But as we got older, and I mean older, meaning your age, 21, 22, it was like, well, I don't know how old you are, I'm sorry, but like 30, yeah. So like when we got to be 22 or so, it changed, especially me. I changed, like, that's not who I am. Like, I need to be authentic to who I really am and what I really believe. And it changed. And then number two, for me, I've always wanted Arrested Development to be one of the many voices within the hip hop genre. So like, I wanted us to fill in the voids, because there was a lot of gangster stuff, like you said, that was talking about killing, raping women, like degrading our women. And I knew that the Black community wasn't all of that. Like, that's not who we really are. There's a slither of us that's on that level and on that tip, but not all of us are that way. In fact, most of us aren't. So I felt like the labels were really promoting one image of us, and there needed to be other styles and conversations happening within hip hop. And so I'm grateful that we decided to take up that mantle, along with other groups too. I have a documentary that I released called Hoodwinked. It's the subtitle is The Nigga Factory, and it's on YouTube. People could go see it right now. And I talk about how in the 90s and the late 80s, hip hop artists that were conscious had the ability to talk about numerous things that gangster artists were talking about as well, but from a different perspective. So you had NWA, who was a gangster hip hop group, who talked about drug dealing, but it sort of glorified the drug dealer, sort of made him super cool, blah, blah, blah. Yes. Then KRS-One had a song called Cocaine Business Controls America. And it was talking about the government and how they're involved with cocaine. Then Public Enemy had a song called Night of the Living Bassheads, and their song was talking about how crack is destroying the community. So all of them songs was talking about drugs and drug dealing, but coming from totally different perspectives. And that's what I loved about that era, was we had diversity of thought, which actually mirrored the Black community.
Oh man, so pretty much you can't, like I said, y'all came out in that era, like it was so much competition. Like, I looked at the charts back then when you came out, I'm like, damn, they had to go up against all these people, and you came out victorious with 2 Grammys, and the first rap group to win, rap artist to win a Grammy for Best New Artist, I believe, or Best New Song. It's both.
It's Best New Artist.
Best New Artist, first rap group to win in that category. So that right there set a trend. So how does it feel, to win a Grammy for the Best New Artist?
It was outstanding, bro. I mean, growing up, I always imagined going to the Grammys and being on that stage. So just as a teen, or even before I was a teen, just dreaming of one day. And then having that happen on our first album, and we got one for our first single. and then we won album of the year, or best new artist. That's what it was, best new artist, and we won best rap single. So Tennessee was our first single, and
Yeah.
we got a Grammy off that. Then we got artist of the year, which I mean our best new album, and that whatever artist of the year I think it was, and it was crazy because again it was off of our first album, and it was like, oh my gosh, like our childhood dreams were literally coming true. And it just was, it was outstanding. It was amazing. Still is.
Just going back and looking at, you know, the footage of y'all winning y'all's Grammys, it was just like, I feel like y'all probably were one of the artists that put Atlanta on the map, you know, because when people think of Atlanta, they, you know, they mention Outkast, they mention Jermaine Dupri, you know, all the Kilo Ali, a couple of people that was here, you know, doing their thing, and then like you had Arrested Development, which was completely different type of rap, you know. So and then like classic album, I loved it. Like it's on the radio probably now as we speak. Every time I get in the car, I hear Everyday People or Mr. Wendell or something like that. So what was the writing process, you know, like for that album?
Well, the album's called 3 Years, 5 Months, 2 Days. It took us that long to get a record deal. So for that long as well, we were writing music. I'm the producer of the group, and I'm also the lead vocalist and writer of the group. So I write most of the rhymes. I wrote like 98% of the beats. So it was a lot of just what I call woodshedding, you know, just being in the studio, digging in crates, finding great samples, working on music, tweaking the music, making it better, and then jotting down ideas. Like for instance, Mr. Wendell was one of our biggest singles, and I had the melody of Mr. Wendell 4 years or 3 years prior to ever releasing the song. Then finally, you know, put the music to it. So I mean, those types of things, a lot of puzzle pieces, and just, you know, sowing the seeds, planting and watering those seeds, and waiting for something really exciting to grow out of it. And also listening to all the new releases that were coming out around us before we released, and trying to make sure that we were at least competitive, because you have to remember that Atlanta had not really broke into hip hop in a real way until we did. So, you know, there was no big Atlanta groups. It was New York or LA pretty much. And so it was very different. Outkast had not come out yet, and Jermaine Dupri, and just dropped Crisscross, which was huge. I mean, just mega huge. So it was a very different landscape. So we really needed to make sure our stuff was hot, and make sure that it was original, authentic, but still could compete with all of this incredible music coming from New York or Miami, and also LA.
And it's funny because a lot of people, you know, y'all are labeled an Atlanta group. And so I see a lot of people on the internet, they was like, why did they have a song called Tennessee? You know, they're from Atlanta. I was like, I did my research. I'm like, okay, you're originally from Milwaukee, then you spent a little time in Tennessee. So is that what sparked your
definitely. Like every summer, pretty much, when I was a kid, I spent in Tennessee, in a very, very rural town, small town called Glimp, very, very small. And it was with my grandmother. And so she was by far my most important grandmother, because I spent so much time with her. And she passed away, I think in 91. And my whole family went back to Tennessee to celebrate her life. And then that same week, my brother, who was 29 at the time, Terry, he passed away too. And he passed away of asthma attack. My grandmother passed away of a heart attack. So the last place I saw both of them was in Tennessee. So that was why I insisted. I was like telling the label, like, we got to put out Tennessee first, you know. And they ended up loving that song, and that was our first single. And that's why Tennessee was the place that people tended to think we came from, but we didn't come from there.
I know you hate that misconception. You're like, we're not from Tennessee. Like, it's a song.
Straight ATL. You know, straight ATL.
And I watched that video, and like, y'all look like I had so much fun filming it. Like the older guy, and his name was Baba.
Baba OJ.
Baba OJ was in there, like he was a favorite, like from the people I talked to. They was like, we love Bobo. Like he's just in the video. Like he looks like he's having so much fun. And then, all of a sudden
That
you
was
hear
the People Every
horseshoes.
Day video. Yeah, that was the People Every Day video
People
because
every
he
day.
wasn't in the Tennessee video.
It was
Yeah, People Every Day, and he that was his first video because he was in the group when we did Tennessee, but he lived in Milwaukee,
okay.
and I didn't. He was an older dude. He was 57. I didn't know if this single was gonna jump off, so I was like, Baba, why don't you just chill in Milwaukee? Let's see how this thing goes, and if it really jumps off well, then you could come on out because he wasn't in hip hop at all. Like Baba OJ was a world traveler, like studies of African culture,
Yes.
and a banker. So like, he really was just doing this for me because he knew my mom and dad. So he was just doing it for my sake. So I didn't want to get him out of his banking world and get him out of his whole thing to come down here, shoot a music video with us for Tennessee and it not do well. And then, he income and we weren't making any money in the first album. And so I didn't bring him down for Tennessee, but for People Every Day, I brought him down. And that was, by that time, is our second, because Tennessee had already blown up. It was one of the top 10 hits of America. So I brought him down for the second joint, and that was People Every Day.
People Every Day. Okay, because I swear I saw an old guy in the Tennessee video. Maybe I was thinking
There
about.
There was older people in there. There definitely was older people in the Tennessee video, but it wasn't Baba.
Got you. Okay, I was thinking it was him. I was like, man, this guy is having some fun. And then all of a sudden you hear horseshoes. Like I love that part of the song, horseshoes. So,
yeah, that's Airly Therese. She's a trip.
love that part. So you and Baba, like what was y'all like? Did he inspire you, to stay Afrocentric? Because I saw that he was a very, Afrocentric guy. He's very in tune with himself. He looked like he was a teacher. What was y'all's relationship like?
Baba OJ is funny, man, because he was 57 when I met him, and I was probably 20 or 19, something like that. And he would hang around people my age. Like we were always hanging out with him. This was in Milwaukee, and I was in school in Milwaukee at a university called UWM. And he was there too. He was taking some banking classes or finance classes or something, but he was hanging with cats our age. And one of the things I loved about him was he wasn't ashamed or he didn't degrade us or demean us as young people. He just really was just vibing. And I went to Jamaica for some reason. I forget, maybe it was a vacation. And I went to a party there and I saw the young people and the old people rocking in the same party. And I was like, we don't do that back in America. I was like, I want to do that in my group. So I asked Baba, I said, yo, I'm trying to start this hip hop crew called Arrested Development. Well, we weren't called that at first. We were called DLR. And I was like, trying to do this group called DLR. Would you be down? And he was like, hell no, I'm not even interested in no hip hop. He like blues music and, stuff like that. And then he later found out that I was, that my mother and father, he was the best man in their wedding. He didn't know that I was their son. And so when he found out that he was the best man at my mom and dad's wedding, he's like, let me help this young brother out. So yeah, Baba was very much Afrocentric, focused on revolution. Did he keep me focused? Definitely at times. And at the same time, I have my own drive in that light too. Like my mother and father were both activists. Like I said, he was the best man at my mom and dad's wedding. So I grew up around that activism energy. So I didn't need to have him per se do that, but he was definitely still an inspiration for me all the time.
Gotcha. Hey, I appreciate Baba for taking you under his wing because nowadays a lot of older cats don't like hanging around people my age because they look at us like hotheads. They're like, oh, you don't listen, y'all hard and all that. So Baba actually picked the right one, Speech. So you you got all the blessings and you putting it out on us now.
No doubt. Baba's he was a beast. He passed away in 2019, but he's a beast.
Man. So you, like I said, you have the legendary group. So do you feel like the group has gotten, their just due, in the hip hop game? Do you feel like y'all, got everything you deserved, or do you feel like y'all should have, done more or had more?
I think the latter. I felt like we could have had more and should have had more. I think what I've learned is that over time, history gets rewritten and there's this revisionist history.
Yes.
And so when we were actually out, we smelled a lot of flowers. I mean, everybody felt where we was coming from and they got where we were coming from. But when we got so big, because there was a point where we were like the darlings of America. And like the lyrics hadn't changed, we hadn't changed, but the music was just very popular. And so at that point, a lot of hip hop was trying to sort of downplay us because at that time, at least, being super popular in hip hop was as if you were selling out. And so we never sold out, but people were sort of mad that we were winning all these awards. They were people in hip hop, they were sort of mad that we was, selling so many records, touring around the planet. A lot of white and black audiences loved us. So I think revisionist history would sort of have it written as if we were just sort of a smaller part of what the Atlanta scene and what was going on in Atlanta in the early 90s, when in truth we were very big and sold 4 million albums off our first album coming straight out of Atlanta. We were the cause of so many people coming to Atlanta from all around the world, wanting to be part of this cultural revolution. And we were also the cause of a lot of groups, I believe, getting signed in the first place. Like we had broadened music so much in our sound, and the topic and subject matter was so well received but broad that a lot of groups got a chance to be signed because we were doing so well. So, a lot of groups and solo artists. So I feel like there has been some revisionist history.
Gotcha. Okay. So, like I said, you dropped the first album, worldwide success, everything. And then here comes 93, 94, your second album. Pronounce it for me because I feel like I'm a butcher it.
Zinga Lamaduni.
Zinga Lamaduni. See, I was gonna butcher it. I was gonna say something completely different.
Yeah.
So
Zinga
Lamaduni. I probably butchered it just now.
Zinga Lamaduni. Yeah.
It's a tongue twister, man.
Yeah.
So that album comes out, and do you feel like that album, got the recognition it deserved, being the follow-up to a majorly successful album? Do you feel like it got the follow-up it deserved?
Not even close, but it was for a few reasons. The label themselves felt it was too black and too cultural, and they didn't understand it. And then number two, hip hop had went a different direction. People wanted to hear more straight like drug tales, tales of people that was on the street corners selling. They wanted to hear that narrative a lot more. So a lot of groups that was talking more about that and artists really shined during that time period. And then also, I think the labels just felt like, what, we'd rather have this style of hip hop than that style, because that style is talking a lot about, rebelling against the system, anti-materialism, lifting up black women, revolution, Black Panthers, MOVE organization, Kwame Nkrumah. I mean, it's just Kwame Nkrumah, so on and so forth. Just like all of these black concepts we were bringing to the forefront, while some of the other hip hop groups was just talking about killing one another and, the drug game and so on and so forth. So it was just totally two different energies. And I think they chose the latter,
Because even around that time, like, I don't think, because that was the 95 Source Awards where Dre got on stage and was like, yo, the South got something to say. And I feel like right when that happened, that's when, people started listening to the South. Because around the time this album came out, it was, the beginning of Death Row and the beginning of Bad Boy. And that's the two entities that people started caring about. It's like, oh, we got Death Row over here. Like, they're talking about killing. You got Bad Boy. They're not really that much talking about killing that much, but like this party, it's dancing, shiny suits. So either we killing or we putting on the shiny suit and dancing. So your style was definitely, empowering. And, even with nowadays, we still got the trap era going. So it's a lot of artists not getting heard if you don't have that 808 kicking in your trunk.
No doubt. That's
so I completely understand where you're coming from when you say that. So I feel is that the reason, for the split of the group?
No, I don't think that was really the reason. I think the although that did have an effect on how we felt, I feel that we had a lot of internal
Mhm.
problems going on with the group too. Um, we were a very organic group. How we came together, it was all about good vibes, good music. It wasn't about making a lot of money or money any money really.
Mhm.
And so by the time we got really famous, it was a lot of money going on, and it changed a lot of people's character. I mean, a lot of more
Mhm.
jealousy, a lot more greed, a lot more envy, a lot more people wanting to be play roles that made more money, whatever the role was, even if that wasn't their skill set, they still wanted to do it. Like, yo, I want to write songs, or I want to produce more, or I want to get these publishing checks, or I want to sign these publishing deals, or whatever. So everything just got out of whack, and we broke up really for a little while, like 5 years actually, because of that.
Because they, yeah, you're right. They're forgetting about, why we got together and what made the success happen for the first album. And, I see
Right.
people like, all right, like they're trying to, is this we see this every day. That's why it's 30 seasons of unsung. People in groups that want to get
Exactly.
more, and
Yeah,
then it leads to the fans getting robbed of whatever great was next to happen.
that's exactly right.
So
Yeah,
I
I agree
I
with
I
that.
I, I see what you mean. So pretty much when y'all split,
Yeah,
you went solo, dropped a couple albums. How was it like
yeah,
working, by yourself when you first go solo? Because you went from working in a group, you had people input, people helping you out,
yeah,
even though you was doing
yeah,
most of the producing, writing, and everything. So now it's just you. How did that feel?
yeah. It felt strange, and to be honest, I didn't try to do a solo career first. I really was focused wholeheartedly on Arrested Development, but when that dissipated, as the creative that I am, I just kept writing stuff. I wasn't writing it for Arrested Development or for me. I just was writing
Mhm.
to express myself, to get feelings off my head and heart, stuff like that. So um, after a while of writing, I had about, I don't know, 20 songs or so, and the label heard the songs that I had been working on just by happenstance. And there was a new president at the time, and he was like, "Yo, you got to release this." And that's when the beginnings of me being a solo artist was sort of something real. And so, yeah, it was very different. And at the same time, it was freeing because all the drama that was happening in the group, being in the studio by myself gave me the chance to just say whatever I wanted to say. And my first solo album was very much an escapist type of record and experience. It was trying to escape all of the dramas that I felt. I felt drama from the internal strife in the group. I felt drama from popular culture, sort of choosing gangster rap over conscious hip hop. I felt mad about that. I felt depressed about that. I felt, all types of feelings. So that record was needed to just be my own thoughts and just my own way of escaping.
So you were pretty much frustrated. You were like, yo,
Very much.
that was your America's Most Wanted, album. Like Ice Cube did. Like he was like hot, like fresh off the Jerry Heller stuff. So
Yeah,
you
he was
pretty
hot.
much like, look, I'm sick of this. Like, let me put this out, tell people how I feel,
Yeah.
and see where we go from here. So that first album you put out, did you was that just a one and done to you, or did you want to keep going after that?
Well, it's funny. I mean, it did horribly in America. So, like, I put it out, and this is after all the success of Arrested Development. It sold like 15,000 copies, which we had sold 4 million. So it was very dismal response. And so I basically was like, okay, well, I'm pretty much done. This is the end of my career. And I was looking at the charts one day just to see if it was starting to pick up steam because I was still hopeful. I was wanting it to happen, and it was way down at the bottom of the charts. And so I went to Japan's charts once on Billboard magazine when it used to be a physical magazine. And I was going through Billboard magazine and got to Japan. I was looking somewhere around the hundreds, trying to see if I'm anywhere on there. I wasn't. And then I went all the way to the top just for the heck of it. And I was number one. So I was like, wait a minute. My song is number one in Japan. So I called my manager and I was telling him, I was like, yo, did you see, check out the charts in Japan. And my song was number one, and it had been there for 7 weeks, and I didn't know it. So basically, at that point, I told him, I was like, "Yo, we got to book shows in Japan," and they were so excited to see me, and that rebirthed my career, which I had felt was over. But once Japan jumped off, then I was able to do Australia, New Zealand, Europe, Canada, and then finally back in the United States. So it jump started my whole career again.
So that international love is really real, you know, when it comes to
Very real,
some
very real, and
artists.
very needed.
Some artists here, you know, they can't, you know, do what they want, and then they look overseas and just love. So
Just love.
what is that like? How do you, you know, take that in? You know, like, you know, America's really not messing with me right now. So then you look at, you know, Japanese and London and all this, and they appreciate you. How did that make you, like, you feel?
It makes you feel, number one, grateful that it's a big world after all, not a small world. It's a big world
Yes.
after all, and that there's a lot of different cultures out here. There's a lot of different people with different viewpoints. America's not the center of the world. America's a very small part of the world scene. So we in America, when you're here and you don't travel, you think that America is where everything is centered around, and it's not. It's like there's a different mindset overseas and in many, many countries where they're not all about materialism and fickle, like what's new. If it's new, it's hot. If it's not new, it's out, you know, it's whatever. They don't have that same mindset. So they're listening to stuff and they're like, yo, this is great music. Forget what the trend is. This is just great music. And they jump on it if they feel it's hot. And I'm so grateful for them because it saved my career.
Man, thanks, Japan, because we got to keep speech around for a mighty, mighty long time, man. And it's
Thank you.
more time to come because, like, the Japanese people, that, like, the world loves American culture. Like, we have the talent. You know, we are the talent of the world. How I feel, because it's artists like, you know, Michael Jackson. Like, he rarely did shows in America, rarely. Because I listened to an
Yeah.
interview and they're like, why don't you do shows? You know, you used to tour, you know, Kansas City. You know, he's like, I love America. He's like, but they don't like to pay. He's like, they like listen to the radio. They're handing out free tickets and they're, you know, gambling off, you know, tickets and all that. You go overseas, you're selling out back to back to back to back, getting all your money,
Yeah.
getting all your just due. So is the money overseas better? You know,
Many times it is. Yeah. Many, many, many times it is.
when you break international, definitely because it's kind of you getting out of that box. So I understand
Exactly.
what you're seeing. I understand.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was your first album. So around '96, you were also, you know, into politics. You started touring with Al Gore and Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. I'd always been into politics musically, but you know, I had written a song called It Takes a Village to Raise a Child based off the African proverb.
Mhm.
And Hillary Clinton happened to write a book called It Takes a Village. So when she heard my song, her office called my office here in Atlanta and was like, "Yo, would you, you know, go on a tour with Hillary Clinton?" I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah, you know, I was a fan of the Clintons and Al Gore. I'd known about him from running with Bill Clinton.
Mhm.
So I was like really into the idea, but I'd never done anything like that. So I went on a tour with Hillary, and it was extremely enlightening. I got a chance to meet her and her daughter Chelsea and Al Gore, and all of them were super cool, very real people. And we hung out every night, you know, like during this tour. And Secret Service agents were checking my equipment every night. Every city we went to, they would unscrew the samplers and look inside and make sure no bombs had been placed there. And it was just a whole different atmosphere. And but I will say that it was cool because I got to see not hip hop America, which I was used to seeing, but I got to see just all of America. Like her tours weren't music tours, you know, it wasn't artists and music fans in the crowd. It was just people, like people from all walks of life. You know what I mean? So when you're on a tour with political campaigners and stuff, it's a very different atmosphere than I had ever played for before. But I'm glad I did it.
See, and this is why people, you know, you said people like try to downplay you because, like, look at you, you're touring with presidential candidates, like you're touring the
Yeah,
world. Like,
yeah,
I can see why people were jealous. Like, you can't get no better than that. Like, bro, like you made it. So I understand.
it-
Presidential candidates, you got 2 Grammys. Like you definitely, smelled your flowers, around that
No
time.
doubt.
And
No
then
doubt about it.
like
That's true.
after you dropped Hoopla.
Yeah.
Hoopla. So
Yeah.
how was that album different from your first?
Well, that album was very different because I actually only recorded Hoopla for Japan. So in Japan, it was called 1998 Hoopla, and I released it, and it was a huge hit. It did way better than the first album. The first album went gold, Hoopla went gold, and in Japan. And I started touring that record, and it was just a huge success. And so then I decided to release it in like, I don't know, maybe 2000 or so. I forget when I released it in America, but it was years after I'd released it in Japan. But by then, I was no longer signing record deals. I was doing licensing deals, which meant I was creating the records myself in my I'm actually in my studio right now. I was creating records in my studio and then packaging them, doing the album artwork, mastering, mixing, everything, and just rent in a sense or license the albums out to different labels across the world. So I would do one country at a time. I would license it to Japan, give them a number of years to work that record. Then I would go, maybe after a few months, I license it to Germany. Then I license it to Australia. Then I license to, and licensing was a great monetary scenario where every country would pay me different amounts of money, and none of them own the music. I own that music and still do to this day.
So the licensing thing, is it, because this is way before the internet. This is before people can steal your music and put it out and everything. So you think the licensing thing worked back then because the internet wasn't around, or do you think you could still do something like that, licensing in certain countries? You can still do that? Will it be
No,
will it,
not
will it
not
be
so much anymore because now very different.
okay?
You know, with the internet, basically anybody can release a record and it can be distributed everywhere in the everywhere the Apple is or everywhere Spotify is. So it's totally different now.
Damn. So after Hoopla, like around that time after Hoopla, you and the group started, reconciling, getting back together. Is that true?
It is, and because my career was doing so well in Japan, when Arrested Development did get back together, we put that record out in Japan first. It was called Heroes of the Harvest, and it did really well. And we did huge tours, and yeah, it was really good for the group because they hadn't seen the success that I had in Japan. But when we got back together, they saw Japan as a incredible market that it is, and the fans there are just, you know, second to none. And it was a beautiful time. You know what I'm saying? It was good for us as a crew too to be able to have that type of love.
So around, the year, 2003, like TV shows are starting to come out, and I recognized there was a TV show called Arrested Development.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute, when does Beach get a TV show? Because I'm thinking it's y'all with a TV show,
Yeah.
and it turns out it's not. So I understand y'all went through, a lawsuit, you sued them for the name and everything. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, it was during Super Bowl Sunday that the show debuted, and even the newscasters on the Super Bowl were saying, "Oh, the rap group Arrested Development's got a show coming out. This is fresh." And so I was watching the Super Bowl and I'm like, "Yo, what's going on? Did we do something that I don't remember? Or what's going on?" So I started talking to my peoples, my managers and all of that. And everybody was like, "How are they just gonna take the name? We had a trademark years ago, like decades ago." So long story short, yeah, we had to come at them and try to hit them up for just stealing our trademark. We ended up settling the whole issue out of court. They were able to come out with the show. We were able to still do our music, and everything worked out. But it was crazy for a minute there. Pretty intense, actually.
Because it's a misconception. Because when you type Arrested Development into Google, the first thing that comes up is the damn TV show. I'm like, wait a minute, like what? Whoa,
Yep.
whoa. Rap group
Yeah.
first, because
Yeah.
that's y'all's name. But you know
Yeah.
how you do us, you know. so once you got past that, like, did
No
people
doubt.
did people come to like approach y'all? Because this is before the internet. Did people approach y'all thinking y'all had a part of the show or anything?
Yeah, a lot of people did. And The truth is that the reason why we fought so hard
Mhm.
is because we had done the research. Most bands that have had TV shows take their names, the TV show far exceeded what the band was. So
Mm.
Living Color is a rock band. Living Color, the TV show, far exceeded it. Survivor is a rock band. Survivor, the TV show, far exceeded it. So usually TV shows gobble up the band's whole essence and brand name. I'm really grateful for us because, we still have held our own and people know and respect the group so much. And I'm really grateful for that. Like, we still get a lot of love, and we headline tours when we were touring prior to COVID-19, headlining tours, doing festivals, 80,000 people, 50,000, 20,000. So it's good love there. But it was a scary time because, we wanted to protect that brand name.
And that's difficult because the show was bigger than I thought it was because they
Yeah.
got rid of the show and then it came back even stronger. It's back on Netflix with new episodes and everything. I'm like, whoa, this show really was. So y'all really almost did kind of get buried by the show if you didn't take action. Like y'all would have been in the
Yep, no
history
doubt
book.
about it.
Oh man, that's
No doubt
that is
about
a headache because a lot of people don't realize you like. I think the making the music is the easy part, but when it comes to business, you have to know how to handle business. Otherwise, the industry will eat you alive. I do stand up, and when I first started, I thought being funny, that's all I had to do. But when I came to
it. Right,
doing the business, I'm like, yo, this is what I have to do. I got to trademark this. I got to do this. So I
right.
understand that y'all had to do
It's
that.
real, bro.
Man, it's hard, especially for us, because like I said, that's why so many seasons are unsung. People don't know the
Yep,
business, and
yep.
it eats them up and spits them out, and then it leads to either the artist being broke, them doing drugs, or them just dying of
Yeah, true,
depression or anything. So
true.
I'm,
It's very
I'm
real. It's very real, man.
I am glad y'all are still here. So after that whole Arrested Development thing, y'all kept touring, kept making music. What what changed, from the first time y'all were together to now? Like, were y'all more mature, and thought about things y'all did so y'all won't have another breakup?
Definitely. All of us were way more mature. All of us were um, way more hungry too. Like, we were very appreciative of everything that went on with us, and we wanted to make some really great moves in music. And so, we just kept getting better. And the group members would change. I mean, over the years, some people decided to go do other things. Some people wanted to, just be out of the music industry all in all. So, we would change members, but the love was strong, and we continue to make better and better stuff. And like I said, the last album we did has been the most highly received record we've done, period, outside of our debut. So it's been love, and this is 30 years later.
Man, because yeah, y'all have went through a lot of changes with the group members. I looked at
Yeah.
the set list and I'm like, damn, I was a part of Arrested Development. I didn't know that. I was like, I'm like, what did I do? I'm like, let me call Speech and get my check from him. Man.
Exactly.
Y'all like the Southern Wu-Tang. Y'all had so many members, man. It was
Yeah, it was like Wu-Tang and like Earth, Wind, and Fire. It was crazy.
as long as you the front man, and then you got my girl Tasha LaRae, which is a beautiful talent. She can sing her
Yeah,
butt off.
she's awesome.
I caught y'all's
Yeah, she's crazy.
concert, like I said, in Centennial Park, and it was amazing. Like that was the first time of me going to like an Afrocentric type show, like that. You ain't had to worry about nobody shooting the place up. You ain't had to worry about nobody, acting crazy. It was just like all
Yeah,
love. People, hey, how you doing? I'm like, what is it? Because I'm from Ohio. We don't. It's,
right.
it's it's hostile.
Oh,
So,
word up.
hey, how you doing? I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, okay, friendly. Ain't no swine
Yeah,
out here, no
I feel
nothing.
you
I
on
don't see
that.
nothing.
I'm
Y'all
from
like just,
Milwaukee. It was the same way there. Same way.
man, I ain't see no swine,
Right.
no nothing. It was just all. I'm like, they are. I like this. I
That's
like
funny.
this. And you are very approachable because me and you took a picture together, and I'm like, yo, you came from behind the barricade. You walked up to people, shook hands, and I'm like, yo, like you made me feel very, very personal because you don't stay behind, like I got security and all that. So I'm like, yo, you are a good dude, bro. You are.
I appreciate that. Really appreciate that. For real.
So y'all, like I said, you dropped the album in 2020. Is there anything more to come? Is there you working on
Oh,
something new?
definitely. Yes. So Don't Fight Your Demons is doing great. We're hoping to get nominated for a Grammy again. And then, me and Configure, one of the producers on Don't Fight Your Demons, we started cooking up some other material. I got a lot of great producers on this material other than Configure as well.
Yes.
So it hopefully will drop like later this year. And but in the meantime, my solo record, I'm just like focused on that because it's totally different. It's like a great album to listen to while you're doing housework or just living life. You don't have to, it's not like a heavy boom bap type of record. It's more so just very good listening, great music, melodic vibe. And that joint comes out this month. So I'm really excited about that one.
Looking forward to that, man.
And it's called Expansion.
Yeah. Expansion. Make sure y'all look out for that, man. It is a blessing to have you on here. This is a virtual podcast. So can you please tell the people where to find you in the group on social media?
Sure. You can go to brotherspeech.com. That's my website. Everything I'm doing right there is on there. And then you could also go to @speech__ on Twitter, @speech__ on Instagram. And I'm not on Clubhouse really, like I'm on there, but I don't really do it too much. And then I'm not on TikTok and but Twitter, Instagram, I'm @speech__. And then my website is brotherspeech.com.
Got you. He'll be on TikTok soon, folks. But just watch.
I know. Probably when it's all done and said, like I'll be on TikTok and everybody else will be leaving to go to Clubhouse or something.
Oh man, like I said, you're a legend in the game. I appreciate you stopping by my podcast. I'm not gonna hold you hostage too long. We might have to do a part 2, which, if you don't mind, that'll be dope, bro.
Always here for you. And man, much support to your comedy too, man. I always respect that genre. I really respect what y'all do, man.
Thank you so much. I mean, I got some shows coming up. If you want to come out, I'll leave some tickets at the door. You wear your mask. Ain't nobody gonna know. So I keep you in the shadows.
That's right.
Okay, I'm gonna wrap this up.
No doubt about it. Hit me up.
I will, bro.
Yeah.
So thank y'all so much, for tuning into the Love and Laugh podcast. I am your boy Marlon Ballard. We have been joined by the legendary Speech, man, activist, rapper, music producer. He does all of the above, man. So make sure y'all check out the new album from Arrested Development. Make sure you check out the new work he has coming up. Support music, real music, because he's been doing this a long time, 30 years. So his career is as old as I am. I feel so. I appreciate you, Speech, for coming to my podcast. Thank y'all, everybody. Follow him. Have a good night. Love to Laugh podcast.